Hi, so in this second video we're going to learn how to style points. So I'm going to start by opening up the QGIS project. I'm going to switch to the browser panel, and I have the course data saved as a favorite, and I've expanded the Symbologi geo package, and inside there is the Symbologi QGIS project file. I showed you from PowerPoint that you can open these by going to the project menu and choosing Open From GeoPackage and navigating to the GeoPackage and opening the project that way. Another way to do that is to simply show this in the browser panel and find the QGIS project and drag this project onto the map canvas to open it. So the project opens up with all the data in the geo package, and they all just have their default symbology that QGIS gave to them. We also have the Scam-Quat-Dempo base map from Data Fasuning. And we're going to start with symbolizing points. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on this button in my layers panel to open the layer styling panel. And the panel opens up on the right, and we're going to start with Boo, the towns layer. So I'm going to turn this on and we'll zoom in to the Skoskolin area. Maybe I'll turn on the lakes quickly to help me with that. Great. Okay, so we have our map zoomed into a smaller area, and I'm going to show you how to work with this styling panel. So when I select a layer in the layers panel, it should become selected in the layer styling panel. So for example, if I select Tow Station, that is now the layer that's listed here. Another way to do this is simply click this drop down and choose which layer you want to work with. So we're going to start with Boo, and it has this default symbol using a simple marker. And again, if I select the marker component of the style, I can choose the color, the opacity, and the size. So if I wanted to just simply make these black, I could use the color wheel and make them black points. And I could change the size here. QGIS also comes with a style manager, which we're going to learn a lot about. And this, so QGIS comes with some styles. So you might see a style in here that you like and want to use, such as dot red, and you can just pick that and it will change to that symbol as well. And then you can see how that symbol was constructed. One other feature of the layer styling panel is that there's this undo option. So if you ever make a change that you don't like, you can click undo and go back to the original symbology. So I'm going to select the simple marker component, which gives me more options. So instead of making these circles, I can, for example, go down to this shapes gallery, and I can choose a square, make them squares, and then I can do things like adjust the fill color and the stroke color. So maybe I want these to have a white interior. So I can double click on the fill color and go to this palettes option, and in the standard colors there's white. So I can make them white and then click the go back blue button to return to the main layer styling panel. So now I have the towns as white squares, and I can also increase the size a bit by just increasing that number. There's also the default unit of size is millimeters. So these are now 2.6 millimeters. I can change the units. So I might choose to put these in meters. If I want a symbol to be a precise number of meters in the real world, I can choose meters at scale and enter the number of meters that I want that size to be. But for the most part, for basic cartography, I stick with the default of millimeters. But I just want you to know that there is an option to change what units you're using there. The stroke width down here is hairline, just means it's very thin. So I can click this up a little bit to increase the stroke width. This default setting of hairline, you don't see it change when I click up to 0.2, but you would see the difference if you exported this image. With it set to hairline, the boundary will barely be visible. If you put it up to 0.2, it'll look more like it does on the screen. And you can experiment with this and change the stroke width. Doesn't really make sense to change stroke style for these kind of square points, but there are settings for that as well. And you can of course change the stroke color. So instead of black, maybe I'd prefer that to be just a dark gray. So when we talked about hue, saturation, and value, using the value slider is one way to change black to a different color of gray. And one thing about the red, green, and blue RGB values, if you have an RGB code of 000, that will be black. So if I go in here and plug in 000, it will make the color pure black. If I make this 255, 255, 255, that will be white. And you can see I just basically changed from the white end of the value slider to the black end of the value slider by doing that. And anywhere in here, if all three numbers RGB are the same value, it will be somewhere on that black to white continuum, a shade of gray or black or white. So that can, knowing a little bit of how those colors are defined, can help you make your own colors when you want to. So now we have the cities styled. So let's turn on train stations next. So we have some train stations here, and I can see the layer panel did not pick up, it did not change, so I can just force it to have the target layer be Tow-Station. So here again, I could use the simple marker portion to make these a more interesting symbol. But for a train station, I might want to use something other than the simple marker. I might want to use an SVG icon for a train, which would be more intuitive to most map readers. So to do that, instead of choosing simple marker as the symbol layer type, I can click this drop down, and you can see there's a lot of options here. And to use an SVG, I would choose SVG marker. And we then get this SVG browser, and QGIS comes with a variety of SVG icons, and I can use the search box to search for these. So I'm going to type train in there, and I can choose one of these train icons. So I could choose an icon like this, or the old steam locomotive icon. And once I've chosen one of those, I have to scroll back up, I can change the colors of these. So instead of it having a fill color of turquoise, I could change that to a different color. I can also change the size. So a size of 2 is pretty small. This lock icon means that these are locked, so changing the width will change the height, and so I can just increase this until it's a size that I like. And I can change the color. So maybe this time I'll use the color wheel to change the fill to a nice blue color. And then I can see that the stroke is black, but I don't see a black outline because the stroke width says no stroke. So I can increase that to give the train a little bit of a thicker outline. Like that. So we now have a nice train icon for those. So you can change any of these parameters. The rotation is going to rotate the symbol, and for this it isn't really something I want to be rotated, but I just want to show you how that will work. You can see the icon rotating as I increase the angle. I'm just going to replace that with 0 again to have it be horizontal. So you can set that as you need. We also have an airports layer in here. You can see there's a couple airports here. And so I want to use an SVG marker for these two because showing an airplane on the map is another way to commonly and intuitively show airports. So again, I can go through the same procedure and change this to an SVG marker, and this time search for airport, and I get a variety of planes, all fairly similar. So I'll choose one of these. And again, I'm going to want to increase the size and the color as well. So now I have airports and train stations on the map with SVG markers. If you discover that one of these is something that you really enjoy and you'd like to use again on other maps, you think it's an effective symbol, I can select Toestation, and you can see that down below there's this option to save this symbol. If I click Save Symbol, I get this Save New Symbol dialog, and I can save it either as a project style or in default, meaning my main symbol library. And I could save this as Toestation, and you can have this, you can tag your symbols. So I might tag this as transportation. I'm going to show you the symbol manager, and the tags help you organize your symbols. I could also choose to add this to my favorites. So I'll click Save. And now in my default settings, I will now see that Toestation symbol that I could use to apply to another map or another layer. So anytime I open up QGIS again, this Toestation will be there. And this is a good time to introduce you to the symbol manager. So this button up here, it's actually called the style manager, will allow me to open up the style manager. So if I do this, the style manager opens up, and the style manager has categories. I can look at my marker symbols for points, and I can see the default ones that QGIS comes with, and then the new Toestation symbol that I just saved. If I right click on this, I can always choose to add or remove it from my favorite symbols. I can add tags to it. I can see that right now it's tagged as transportation. I can remove this item, I can edit the item, or I can export it. So I can use this symbol manager to manage my symbols. If I go in here and choose transportation, I'll just see I have one symbol that's tagged as transportation. If I choose all, it will show me all my marker symbols, and then these are the favorites. So I can use this to organize my symbols for I might have a tag for a project or a customer that I use, or a type of work that I do. I might have archaeology points or transportation points, so I can organize this as I need to. So this little window here is basically a small version of the QGIS Style Manager. And you can also open it from this little button, which will also open up the Style Manager. And this drop down lets you choose the different tags in your Style Manager. So it's defaulting to favorites. I could choose all symbols, or I could choose transportation and just see that one symbol. And I can always clear that filter to show all the symbols. So that's a quick introduction to styling points.